Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here on Thursday, May 16th. Before we get into today's card, we will be recapping what happened yesterday. We had a very good day with regard to the leans. We ended up losing Bucks first quarter, but we did win Bucks full game. Also recommended the Sharks on the money line. They ended up cashing on a very controversial hand pass in overtime that led to a go-ahead goal, which was nice for us. We're also right about the Astros -2.5. We're also right about the Cubs on the over. We were wrong on the Mets, but overall, we thought there was value there. It was a good day in general, and if you followed my tennis play with Cole Schreiber over 12 games, we ended up pushing there as he won in straight sets, 6-3, 6-3. So our tennis play pushed, but everything else with regard to leans was very solid. How's it going, Talon? Nice to see you again. But we'll actually go into the main leans for today. We're going to start out with the game that everyone wants to talk about in basketball, which is between the Golden State Warriors and the Portland Trailblazers. As everyone already knows, Golden State absolutely smacked Portland in the first game of the series as the team won by 22 points. And Golden State in this game is currently a 7-point favorite, and the total has been bet up from 217 to 219. Golden State did start as an 8-point favorite down to 7. So that is something to keep in mind. Money has come in on Portland. Yeah, rated. We'll try to help you out with some leans, and whatever you want to back, you are definitely more than welcome to do so. But in terms of this game, Portland was definitely awful offensively. They only shot 36.1%. People are wondering why the Warriors look like a better team without Durant than they do with Durant. And people want to talk about how the offense and how Curry and Thompson do whatever they want now because they have more freedom. I really think that the biggest difference is on the defensive end. I know that Durant's a pretty solid rim protector for a borderline 7-footer. But if you saw Golden State on defense in game one, they were fantastic. Draymond was great. Even Clay was great. They were switching everything. Iguodala was always a solid defender. Even the bench unit, Jordan Bell's been getting a lot of extra minutes. He's been a very solid defender. So the thing for me is that Golden State is definitely a very unselfish team. They had 30 assists in game one. And Durant is a great player, but I like to believe he's more of an isolation player. While the rest of the Warriors on the court, when he's playing, are kind of just sitting around waiting for him to do an ISO, where the Warriors have a lot more ball movement when he's off the floor. So I think that helps offensively. And I also think that defensively, the Warriors seem a little bit more aggressive and more physical when Durant is not in the game. And I expect that trend to continue. Now, in terms of where I'd lean to this game, I would still lean to Golden State. And I would still lean to the under in this one. I know money's come in on the over. Most of that has to do with the fact that they don't expect Lillard to only shoot 4 for 12 from the floor. And I understand that. But at the same point, this game was a dead under in game one. And the only reason why this got somewhat close is because Golden State's bench unit and pretty much the entire team caught fire in the fourth quarter as the Warriors scored 39 points. Other than that, every single quarter was in the 40s before that fourth quarter, which totaled about 62. So for me, I'll lean to the under here. The issue that I also have with people potentially taking the over is that Portland's defense in particular on Steph Curry might have been one of the worst game plans I've ever seen in my life. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Terry Stotts, the Trailblazers coach, decided to defend the pick and roll by sagging off with Cantor in the middle. So they were just giving Curry shooting practice from the three-point line pretty much the entire game. Does that make any logical sense? No. And then Stotts defended his move in the press conference by claiming that Houston trapped Curry and Curry scored 30-something in the second half of Game 6. So therefore, they tried a new approach. The approach was terrible, and I don't expect him to go back to it. Curry was 9 for 15 from 3. So the main point, yeah, no problem, Paul, I appreciate it. But the main point for me with regard to this game is that I think the Warriors' defense is too solid, with the exception of Lillard, McCollum, and so far Rodney Hood has been pretty good in recent games. I don't really think anybody else on Portland can score. For me, I think that Cantor's decent, but defensively, he's such a liability that he's not going to get enough minutes. Harkless had 17 points in game one, but he's not a very solid scorer most nights. Aminu's pretty much a defensive specialist. I think Zach Collins is relatively useless. I think the more minutes that he gets in the game, I think that the worse off Portland will be. I think he's definitely underachieved. It's a top 10 pick in the NBA, and I don't expect that to change. Steph's brother, Seth Curry, was useless in game one. For me, the issue that I have is that I still feel like if Lillard or McCollum don't go off, I don't really see how Portland's going to score more than 105 points. The Warriors definitely showcased their defensive prowess in game one, and I don't think Portland will have many adjustments unless Lillard absolutely goes off, which I personally do not see happening in this game. But in terms of the so I have a question here from Wanya, who wants to know what I think of the total points in the first quarter. I would personally lean to the under in the first quarter. I don't have that line in front of me. Am I really confident in that lean? I'm more confident in the full game under. But hypothetically, Portland can come out guns a-blazing because of the fact that they got run out in game one. So they might completely try to change the pace and try to push it. But realistically, there's no way that they're going to beat Golden State if they push the tempo. And I have to assume that the first quarter will go under. We've noticed in the Golden State playoff series, people were talking about the Houston series and how that would lead to a lot of points. But instead, pretty much all of the first quarters in that series ended up going under as both teams kind of went through a feeling out process. Portland's defense throughout the entire game before the fourth quarter was really not that bad, as Golden State, by their quarter breakdown, 27, 27, 23, 39. The 39, of course, is the anomaly, which helped the Warriors get to 116 points. But it's not like Portland was playing bad defense in the first half. They were pretty solid. Curry ended up catching fire because of some questionable game planning. But overall, Golden State at 17 threes and shot 51.5% from the floor. I have to assume, I know the Warriors are great, but that's a little bit high, especially 51%. I'd expect the Warriors to shoot roughly 40-something%. So I would personally lean to the under there, and I would lean to the Warriors, as I think that Portland will pretty much get swept in the series. No offense to Portland, good run for them, but I just don't see it. I think Golden State's too good of a team, and I think this team will win the championship again, whether Durant plays or not. But moving on to the other playoff game tonight in hockey between the Boston Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. Totals at 5.5, and the money line is currently at -110 on the Bruins. Bruins open up at -133, down to -110 in most spots. Honestly, I don't really get the movement. I understand the logic behind it of saying, well, Carolina is too good of a team to get swept in the conference finals, and they should be able to win at least one game. And my question to you is, why? I don't really believe in that type of mindset, saying this team's lost 3 straight, they're due to win one. I don't think that makes any sense. I think they were due to win game 3, and they were gifted about 4 power plays in the first period, including a 5-on-3, and Tuukka Rask stopped every shot that he faced for the majority of that game, with the exception of a second-period goal by Calvin DeHaan. I don't really see why Carolina would win this game if they lost game 3. Game 3, for me, was their only chance of getting back into the series, and they ended up losing. Oh, and Jameel, it's fine. If you don't like to place the under, you don't have to bet it. Those are just my initial leans. I feel more confident in the Warriors spread, if I'm being completely honest. But in terms of how I'm looking at the total, I would personally lean to the under. But I have a stronger lean towards the Warriors on the side. I was just giving my thoughts on the game itself. Yeah, Jamal, those are just my thoughts. So if you don't want to bet the under, you don't have to. I'm just explaining why I personally think the game will go under. But back to the Bruins here. This Bruins team, for me, is going to win the Cup. I thought that they were the second-best team in all of hockey behind the Tampa Bay Lightning going into the playoffs, and the Lightning got swept, as everybody knows. Boston has looked tremendous. Tuukka Rask has had a somewhat renaissance year, as he has looked like the best goalie remaining in the playoffs. So he's been great. The offensive core has been great. Pasternak, Marchand, a dirty player, but either or, he still is a very talented player. Plus, you have the defensive core with Chara, McAvoy. They're just a very solid team. Krug as well. I think Boston's just more physical than Carolina. Carolina hasn't gotten the greatest goalkeeping in this game. So for me, I'm personally going to lean to the Bruins here because I think that they should be a much bigger favorite than -110. And I don't buy into this desperation factor down 3-0 because only 4 teams in the history of the NHL have come back from 3-0. And I don't think Carolina's going into this game thinking that they have a serious chance of winning the next 4. Of course, they're going to go in and give it all they have, but Boston's looking to end this early, especially with the way that the Sharks series is playing out and how that series has a potential to go to 6 or 7 games. If Boston wins this game, they're going to take a nap for about a week before the Stanley Cup Finals, which should be a huge advantage for the Bruins as they attempt to win another championship. So I think the Bruins will look to close it out. So I will lean to the Bruins there, and I will lean to the over 5.5 or roughly +110 on 5 dimes, as I think that in the closeout game, I think the Bruins will be winning, and I could see a couple of empty net opportunities late as Carolina might get desperate and pull the goalie with about 4 minutes left. So for me, yeah, Jamal, if you really feel that way, you might want to look into taking the Trailblazers team total under because of the fact that if the total is at roughly 219 and the Warriors are expected to win by 7, then yeah, you're looking at roughly 212 to you're looking at roughly 112 to 105 as a final score. So if you're really afraid of the Warriors going off, you might want to look into Portland and take the team total under there. That's not a bad look. But overall, I think it'll be close, but I definitely don't expect Golden State to score 39 points in the fourth quarter once again in that game. Now for some quick baseball leans. We already had some baseball games start early, and actually like a decent amount of them, but I'm not going to go into them because they already happened. In terms of some of the lines here, I lean to Atlanta here with Tehran against Wainwright. Wainwright, great career, has been struggling a little bit this season. Tehran was great in his last start. And the Braves have actually been really solid lately offensively. They actually just called up one of their best prospects in Riley, who had 13 home runs in his last 18 minor league games. And fittingly, he ended up going yard in his MLB debut yesterday. So the Braves lineup actually got better over the course of the last couple of days. And St. Louis is a solid team, but I don't really trust Wainwright here. I think Wainwright will get shelled, and I think the Braves offense will keep it rolling. Moving on, in terms of the other leans here, I would lean to the Twins over. Was bet up from 9 to 9.5, but you have Pineda versus Swanson. Minnesota's bullpen almost blew roughly an 8-2 lead yesterday against the Angels. They ended up winning 8-7 thanks to a ground out with the bases loaded by Ohtani in the ninth inning. But Pineda hasn't been great this season. Swanson hasn't been great this season. And both these bullpens stink, and they have decent lineups. Mariners are still the number one over team in all of baseball, so I would personally lean to the over 9.5 there. If anyone else has any questions on any of the other matchups, it's a pretty small card with only a handful of baseball matchups and a basketball game that I already covered and a hockey game I already covered. But in terms of the other baseball games, don't really have many thoughts. Of course, I think the Indians are going to win, especially with Baltimore coming off a doubleheader. But, I mean, minus 290 is huge. I wouldn't really have any thoughts there. But Straley is terrible. In terms of potential leans, I'd lean to maybe the Indians' first 5 over. In team total, as Straley has been terrible, but that's not a very strong lean by any means. I would actually lean to the Cubs here with Quintana versus Castillo. I know that Castillo is a very solid pitcher for the Reds. He's their ace, but the Reds are a minus 136 favorite, and I don't think anybody, especially the Reds, should be favored by the Cubs of that magnitude because of the fact that the Cubs have been rolling lately, and I believe the Cubs are still in first place in the NL Central. Cubs have been great. Reds have not. The Reds' offense has struggled throughout the entire season. Castillo's good. I don't trust the Reds' bullpen either, so I'd personally lean to the Cubs there with Schwarber and Rizzo and Baez. I'd expect them to generate a decent amount of runs, and I don't trust the Reds' offense to score enough to play catch-up, so I would lean to the Cubs there. But overall, there will be another tennis play out later tonight. Overall, I was thinking about giving out another tennis play last night, but I was looking through the card, and since all the matches got delayed, I already covered all the tennis matches that would be occurring today. So I will be looking at the card tomorrow, and I will be giving out a video sometime tonight. But that's going to do it for this installment of Scott's Selections here for Thursday, May 16th. And good luck to all of you and your respective bets.